There was an interesting storyline with the two coaches where they found each other on the boundary. When you've got the two coaches on the coaching from the boundary, it's the potential for them to come together at various stages is there. It was played down post-game, but Adam Kingsley was on Melbourne radio this morning and perhaps just told us exactly what happened.
He didn't say anything, to be fair. There was no abuse or anything like that from Fly at all. There wasn't much in it, to be frank. I didn't appreciate, some of the cheering directed towards Toby, so I just felt obliged just to say, don't do that. That's not on.
What do you think?
I kind of like before I knew the detail, I didn't know there was the angst in it, so I kind of like the fact that the two coaches... Bottom line is, don't talk to an opposition player. It's as simple as that for me. Now, we've had instances in the past that have resulted in some pretty hefty fine. I like the fact that Adam Kingsley got out this morning and no bulldust, just told us exactly what happened. Grown men, move on. I'm happy with that. But from your point of view, it was $20,000 to Kenny Hinkley previously. So have they got this right?
Yes, this is exactly how these matters should be handled. It's a stern phone call to go, hey, don't be doing that. It didn't lead to anything, but that's not what we want down on the boundary. You have to accept that it has the potential to be a volatile scenario. But I do think if you look back as to how it was handled towards the end of last year, where it was the General Counsel, Stephen Mead, who got involved rather than the football department, this has clearly been handled by the football department, exactly as it should have been. And you contrast these statements with opposition players and officials inappropriately engaging each other is something we don't want to see because of the potential to escalate, and the example that it sets for football at lower levels is you are entitled to judge these instances precisely how they pan out. It didn't escalate. It didn't lead to anything sinister or volatile. It was an exchange, which is a bit of a curiosity and something to note. And I think if Craig McRae became habitual on that, there would be sterner measures.
This is a lead up. This is a lead up to it. Bedford running off and gives away a 50-metre penalty while there's a shot at goal about to be had. Poor
practice by a coach to chip an opposition player. I think we would agree with that.
What about the potential for it to escalate?
I often think this gets taken to the lower levels where maybe it could, but it doesn't escalate at our level. So I think you're entitled to judge precisely what happened, and nothing came of it. So Ken Hinkley should get his $20,000 back. I felt that from the moment...
Get it back?
Yep, they should refund it. It should come with no, we just should have rung you and said, yes, we appreciate your apology. It wasn't a great look for the game. Let's not be doing that. But you've owned your actions really well. To have it as conduct unbecoming. The lawyers totally lost their way last year because of the Alistair Clarkson incident, which did have a serious edge. It breached protocols, it breached rules of the game, and it was threatening. That was appropriately dealt with. And then it had this terrible flow-on effect that we treated more trivial matters that we're going to celebrate over the coming weeks when we get to gather round.
But hang on, if you don't mind me jumping in. If you see the potential that Alistair Clarkson's incident could have got to and the severity of it...
Homophobic slur. It happened.
Right. So, from that point of view. But, I mean, if you don't come down on these, who's to say... What if it happens next week?
Phone call.
Another phone call? How many phone calls?
Ken Hinkley did this, Gaz. He did this.
Yeah.
There was nothing... It was...
Good theatre.
It was mockery. And he shouldn't have done it. And he said immediately that he shouldn't have done it. That wasn't a $20,000 fine, and that's not worthy of a fine either. I actually think it's really poor practice, other than the serious stuff, which Clarkson was, to be fining the coaches of the league. I think sanctioning them is really poor practice. And if this is the approach for the year, it's the right
I like it. Who's driving this from the AFL?
Well, that's the football department. So this is Laura Kane's portfolio.
Tick for Laura.
Get it out of the hands of the lawyers and put it back in the football construct. I think they've done the right thing, and it shows how far they strayed last year.
I'll tell you what, Kenny will be happy getting $20K back.
Well, he should.
Eh?
Actually, they probably should pay him royalties. Zero. It's already spent. The winners left such an impression, didn't they? They're two contenders. One's the darling of the comp, one's the popular pick. What the Giants did yesterday was affirm their place. I'll tell you what I loved. They blew their final series. They've had all summer to ponder that and to ready themselves. They played with a vengeance yesterday. Yeah. Get out there and work through some of that angst. I loved it.
They were outstanding, and I loved what Adam Kingsley had to say pre-game when Dermot Brereton just Mild-mannered Dermot, just fishing for an answer. Put this to Adam Kingsley, and this was his response.
History shows that when we get a team who go out in straight sets, they either play with a purpose or they play angry the next year, trying to rectify it. What are you expecting?
I want us to play with a purpose. I mean, playing angry does have its benefits so long as it remains disciplined. That really is our purpose, to be quite frank. You know, we want to play that real physical, violent brand of footy within the rules, and maybe step over the edge every now and then we do, but we like to play on the edge, and I think that's when we're at our best.
Physical and violent words used in context that I love, but then when you make those statements pre-game and you're the coach, you're then laying your whole credibility at the feet of your playing group, and then they backed it up. That was what I loved the most. They were violent. Look, this is an example of it. This just brings a smile to those people who love. And look where the pressure comes from. Back. That's a forward running up and pressuring there. So you expect it front, but to have the pressure come from the back from 360 degrees, I think is the most impressive thing. And we'll see it again in a moment. And they had intent. They had hostility about them. And it wasn't just the normal suspects, and I mean, we'll get to Toby in a minute, but the pressure that came, and this, as I said, you watch where the pressure, that's a forward coming up. Here's a forward coming up again, Toby Greene. That's a forward coming up for pressure. So all of a sudden, then you get the fumbles, because it's coming from everywhere, 360 degrees. Josh Dacos can't get a hold of it. So this is what I love the most, and their work in tight was superb. Ball lived in there. It lived in their back half for a while and ended up, Scott Pendlebury gets caught and fumble. There's a fumble from Pendlebury, doesn't fumble. But it was implied pressure from this side. And it happened, as I said, it wasn't the usual suspect. Well, it wasn't just the usual suspects. He ends up getting caught, Scott Pendlebury. So we know Toby Greene puts pressure, but I thought Josh Kelly had a real edge. Now, he's a smooth, silky performer. We know that Callum Ward plays with, but Bedford was, intent. Ash had great intent. These are blokes that put pressure on all around the ground. So I love that they were nasty and violent, to use the term, and then they brought this 360-degree pressure that 59 tackles, beautiful.
That demeanour suits them through their finals campaigns. They used to say they brought their steel chairs to those games, and that's how it looked yesterday. But when it goes a little bit too far, Toby Greene has been fined $10,000. He's been charged with kneeing, and this was regarded as an intentional act in the way that it's been graded.
Yeah, some could argue that that's reflex, but not Kobe, unfortunately, given the history. So if you go back to that original statement from Adam Kingsley, he said, we will be violent and within reason, but occasionally we'll go over. And that's the occasional going over. And guess what? You live with that. You will live with that, as long as you don't get suspended in a final.
Toby's with us tomorrow night, as long as he's not at the tribunal.
I can't wait to talk to Toby. He also had the manner and demeanour of someone that's gone, individual honours, All Australians, best and fairest All Australian captain, enough. Now I just need a premiership. That's what he looked like to me, so it'd be great to chat with him tomorrow.